So the big question on everybody's mind is, what about this test tomorrow? For this class, at least for the 4-unit tests, the final test at the end is a little bit different. But remember that final test at the end is to evaluate the course more than it is to evaluate the student. So don't worry about that. If we run short of time throughout the semester, that's always the day we cut out, is the final test. But anyway, for the test, you're allowed to use your notes and your textbook. You're not allowed to use your neighbor. You might even be allowed to use, if you've got access to it on the computer, the class videos. Now, there is no time limit, but I am going to put the comment of time after those class videos, because if you are sitting there trying to look up every problem in the class videos, blank out a couple days on your calendar, just to warn you. But if you do have to, since we do have computer labs here, if you do have to pull something up quick because there's something you're looking at your notes and you didn't quite explain it well enough in your notes what's going on, you can look at the computer real quick. There is no time limit, but must all be completed in one day. I used to say in one sitting, so that once you sat down to take the test, you had to finish it. You couldn't leave for a couple hours and come back. But in the summer, and of course during the regular school year, that's what I do, is you have to, once you start sitting down to take it, you have to finish it. During the summer, because of the 3-hour class, I can't take the whole 3 hours for a test. So the last hour is back to a lecture again. So at 10:50, we're going to start lecture. So once you start the test, if you're not done at 10:50, come in, sit down, we're going to do our lecture, and then you can go back and finish after lecture. But it does have to all be completed tomorrow before you leave the building. Oh, it won't be as bad as you think.
Yeah, but it's like I was telling, I can't finish it because I have to go to work right after. So.
Oh, sure. Well, like I said, I will be here by 8, so if you need that extra time, they'll give you a 3-hour block to come in.
Yeah, I work before 3 to 7:30.
Oh,
so
sure.
Yeah, and then the next day when I was asking about it, I work 4:30 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. Well, then for you, then, if you have to keep working on it instead of coming to lecture, just keep working on it. And you can watch the lecture on video later.
We use our calculators too.
You can use your calculators. Yes, good question.
What if my calculator isn't on?
As long as you're not texting someone. Yeah, if you need to use your cell phone as a calculator, as long as you're not texting anybody, you can. I always get asked, well, what if we Google stuff on our phone? Google's part of the real world now, so your boss is never going to give you a problem and say, okay, do this, you can't look it up or whatever. Listen, as long as you're not texting a friend, or there are websites out there that actually will sell you answers. You submit the question, they'll sell you the answers. As long as you're not using any of those, as long as you're actually translating the information to the problem yourself. People ask me, well, what are we allowed to Google if we do a Google search? You can Google search the type of problem, but you can't enter in the problem and hit search. Because then
Like an example.
yeah, you can put in a similar problem, or you can just say, if you know what it's called, like evaluating an expression or whatever, you can look that up, but you can't enter the exact problem off the test. That's really about all you need to know for conditions for the test. Anybody have any questions on the conditions for the test? So for those of you from the other sites, if you didn't hear, it did come up. What if you have to leave for work right after class, or you have to leave for some reason right after class? During this lecture time from 10:50 till 11:40, if you have to keep working on the test, you can do that and then come back and watch that video later. I'll make sure it's posted before the end of the day tomorrow. Okay, so let's do some review, some topics. So one of our big topics for our first unit is the order of operations. And we've seen our order of operations in a few different forms here with just standard whole numbers and then also with integers or negatives put in there. So I might ask you to do something like 54 divided by 27 minus 3 squared. What would we do to solve that problem? What would we do first? Perfect. Yeah, we're going to go inside the parentheses first. And inside there, of course, it is the exponent, 3 squared. 3 squared is? 9. Is this minus 9 or plus 9? It is minus. Now, I'd mentioned earlier when you're multiplying or dividing and you got that subtraction in front of it, you can treat it as a negative 3 or plus a negative 3 or minus a positive 3. When it is an exponent like this, that exponent has to happen first. So that negative you cannot make that a negative 3 squared. Unless it were in parentheses. If it were like that, then it is a negative 3 squared. What has to happen next? Perfect. Still in our parentheses. 27 minus 9 is, careful, 18. And you'll notice I made the parentheses go away because I'm down to a single number inside of them. I don't need the parentheses anymore. And it's not a negative, so I don't need to separate it out. So the last thing to do here is 54 divided by 18, which is 3. Very good. Any questions? So then we might have something like this. This one's a little uglier. What do we have to deal with first? Inside the parentheses. Good. In there, what do we have to do first? Okay, there's no other enclosing symbols and no exponents. So we're down to multiplication and division. So 3 times 2, which is 6. And of course, the rest of the problem stays unchanged. What's next? 4 and the 6 still finishing off inside the parentheses. 4 plus 6 is 10. Can I get rid of the parentheses? Yes. What do I have to remember to do up front here? Put in multiplication. There's a number outside the parentheses with no operation there. So it's implied to be multiplication. It's 4 times what was in the parentheses. Then I finish rewriting the problem. No more enclosing symbols. Are there any exponents?
No.
No. What's next?
Multiply left to right.
Okay.
Divide.
Multiply and divide left to right. First one we hit is 4 times 10, which is 40. 29 plus 40 divided by 5 minus 7. And then 40 divided by 5, which is 8. So 29 plus 8 minus 7. What's next? 29, yeah, we're going to add and subtract left to right. 29 plus 8 is 37. And then 37 minus 7 is 30. Wonderful. Any questions? Okay. Now, in a problem like this, you see this here. This is not an x. That is just multiplication. What do I need to do first here? You need to do what's on top first. So I'm going to rewrite it. Up there, what do I have to do first?
Multiply the 5 by -3.
5 times -3, which is
-15.
-15. Now that is still 21 minus a -15. Notice I did not use this subtraction symbol up here. 21 minus a -15 is 21 plus 15, otherwise known as 36. What's next? I do the bottom. Any enclosing symbols?
No.
The parentheses are just separating out the negatives, so no enclosing symbols. Any exponents?
No.
No. Multiplication and division is next. Going left to right, what's the first one? 42 divided by -7, which is -6. What's next?
4 times -4.
2 times -4, which is -8. And then, yeah, -6 minus a -8 is going to be thought of as a -6 plus 8, which is 2, positive 2s. So does 36 divided by 2, otherwise known as 18. Any questions on that one? Okay. Now, just a warning, the one where I'll get the most mistakes is going to be the simplest ones. Like, I might put on something like 3 minus 36 divided by -9. What should I do first there?
Divide the 36 by -9.
36 divided by -9, which is -4. 3 minus a -4?
7.
Yeah. I changed it to 3 plus a positive 4, which is 7. So that is order of operations. Any questions on order of operations at all? Okay. Well, our next step. And again, that command for order of operations is usually going to be calculate. When you see the word calculate, you are going to get a single number answer. The next command we're going to discuss is simplify. Another word that would go along with simplify might be just combine. When you're asked to simplify or combine, that means there's a good chance you're not going to get a single number as an answer. Might have a couple of digits or a couple of terms that are linked together. So you might have something like 8p plus 2m minus 5p plus 9m. What would you do to simplify this? Okay, so we can combine the p's first. 8p and negative 5p give us what? 3p. Perfect. 3p. What's next? 2p and the 9p, or 2m and 9m? 11m, which is what? Now, what are we still missing here?
Oh, well, there is a multiplication.
We have to put in addition. Because it's a positive 11m, we have to put that plus in there. Tell me what to do here.
Multiply inside the bracket by negative 7.
Okay, good. We look at the parentheses and there's nothing to do inside them. But we do have to multiply them by the negative 7. So negative 7 times 4x is?
28. Negative 28.
Negative 28x. And negative 7 times negative 3.
21.
Positive 21. And can't forget the negative 29 at the end there, right? Are we done? No, what do we have to do?
21 and 29.
21 and negative 29 make? Negative 8. Very good. So we have negative 28x, and then the negative 8 just is minus 8. If you wrote negative 28x plus a negative 8, that would be fine as well, as long as the negative is very clear. Just to see what you guys remember, I'm going to have you try this one. 6d minus 5, parentheses, 2d minus 9, close parentheses, plus 4. I'll give you a minute to try that one quick. Where do we start?
Times 2D.
Perfect. In our parentheses, there's nothing to do inside, so we have to see what to do to the parentheses. Although it's not multiplied by 5, it's multiplied by negative 5. Good. So I'm going to write the 6D here first. What's negative 5 times 2D? Negative 10D. Good. Then negative 5 times negative 9? Positive 45. And then plus 4. Then what?
Minus 6 and negative 10.
6 and negative 10D make negative 4D. And 45 and 4 make a positive 49, so plus 49. Good. Any questions? Now again, it seems to be the easy ones that I catch people on here. They give you something like negative 5x times 3x. What should the answer be? Negative 15 what? X squared. Remember, when we multiply, we combine the counts. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. But also multiply the names. X times x is x squared. We just did these, so I'm only going to do one example of them. Evaluate m squared minus 3m plus 2 for m equals negative 4. What do I do?
Negative 4 squared.
Negative 4 squared, I got to remember the parentheses around it. Then what?
Minus 3.
There you go, minus 3 times negative 4, you're correct. And again, I'm putting the parentheses around the negative 4. Plus 2, good. Now I realize at this point you can punch it in your calculator and get the answer, but that's no fun. I know, I have a twisted sense of fun. What would we do first if we're doing this by hand?
Just got an exponent.
Exponent. Negative 4 squared should be positive 16. Number of negative times a negative is a positive. The single biggest mistake I will see on this problem, or a problem of this type, someone enters in the calculator, doesn't do parentheses around the negative, and the calculator figures it out as negative 16, but because you enter the whole problem all at once, you don't catch that. You just take the answer the calculator spits out. So then here, our next step would be to do what? 3 times negative 4, which is negative 12. Now, tell me what to write up in front here. 16 minus. That minus is still there. We have not used it yet. So now what? 16 minus negative 12 is 28. Plus 2 is 30. If you had treated that as if you got a negative 16 for that, you would be getting an answer of negative 2 instead of 30, just so you know. We looked at some of these, but we'll do more now. Remember, when you are asked to solve for an equation, again, you're going to get a single number answer. Of the form of a variable equals a number. Up here for evaluate, by the way, evaluate also means a single number answer. So for solve, I might give you negative 6x equals 24. So again here, be careful with the negative. How is that negative 6 attached to the x? What operation? It's multiplied. So to get rid of it, we divide by negative 6. If we divided by a positive, it would give us a negative 1x there. So x equals negative 4. And again, if this were on your test, plug it back in. Does negative 6 times negative 4 give us 24? Sure does. Positive. Very good. I might have t minus 14 equals a negative 20. What are we going to do with that one?
Add 14 on both sides.
Add 14 to both sides. What do we get?
Negative 6.
T equals negative 6 is correct. Like I said, we just covered those earlier today, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Then on to our word stuff. Write an expression for eight times a number decreased by 3. What's that going to look like? What's that going to be?
Parentheses 8x, parentheses minus 3.
You could do 8x like this minus 3.
You don't need the parentheses.
We do not need the parentheses. It would not be wrong to have them there because 8 times x has to happen first. But order of operations says you multiply before you subtract anyway. So it's not wrong to put them in, they're just not needed. Five more than 7 times a number. What's that going to be?
7x plus 5.
7x plus 5 or 5 plus 7x. Either one is fine.
If you're going to do the multiplication first, then
Yes. And remember we talked about addition is commutative, so I can switch the places of the two numbers and it doesn't change the result. If we're subtraction, then the order would matter. Four less than twice a number. 4 less than means what? Subtracting 4, right? Twice a number is just 2x. Twice just means times 2. If I said 4 less than the square of a number, then it would be x to the second. I won't do powers like that on any of these for this test, just so you know. Let's do 5 times the sum of a number and 9. What's that going to look like? I heard somebody say parentheses. What's going to go in the parentheses? X plus 9, good. And then 5 times it. It could be before it or after, it doesn't matter. Could be like that as well. You don't need the times symbol in there either way. We might have 3 times the difference of a number and 2. What's that one look like?
X minus 2 parentheses and then times 3.
Perfect. Difference means the result of a subtraction, so the x minus 2 has to happen first in parentheses, and then times the 3 in front or back. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at some word problems. Everybody always cringes at the word problems, and I will tell you there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them on this test. But they're not as painful as they sound. Let's say, and again, I'm going to give you problems similar to the ones on the test, but not the same problem, of course. But let's say that you purchase 218 pounds of fruit at $3, bless you, $3 per pound. How much do you pay? So what is the operation that has to happen here? Well, we got 218 pounds. Each pound is $3. 218 times 3. You bet. $654. Now we haven't done fractions yet, so this next little piece might be just a little foreign to you, but I want to show it to you because it helps some people avoid making mistakes on these. We've got 218 pounds. We're going to multiply it by $3 per pound. Per pound implies the pound is on the bottom of a fraction. So when you're dealing with fractions, you can cancel out a unit that's on top and a unit that's on bottom. So the pounds cancel out, giving us dollars. So that's telling us that the 218 and the 3 have to be multiplied so that the pounds cancel out. Now, if that confused you, just ignore it. That'll become more clear when we work with fractions. But like I said, sometimes the units of the number tell you how they can be combined. If you were trying to divide those 218 pounds divided by $3 per pound, would actually give you 72.67 pounds squared per dollar, which is kind of a nonsense unit. Let's say that you can buy a car for $3,800, or, yeah, I know that's cheap, or you can pay $500 down and $150 per month, 24 months. How much, I should say, how much more does it cost to make payments? So what it's asking us to do here is to compare two things. If we bought the car and paid cash right up front, what would it cost us? $3,800. How much does it cost us to make payments? How do we figure out what it would cost us to make payments? There's 150 times 24. Then we add the 500 down payment. 150 times 24 is 3,600, right? Plus 500 is 4,100. Perfect. We subtract the 3,800 and the 4,100. Obviously, 41 minus 38 cost you $300 more to finance or to make payments. That would be your interest, yeah. For those of you going on into business math, we'll talk a lot about interest. Okay. Over the last 3 weeks, their paychecks have been $218, $421, and $393. Find the total for the 3 weeks. There you go. We're going to add them. Perfect. I'll let you go ahead and add those up for me. That's okay. That's why I'm pausing. What's that? Anybody else get 1,032? Perfect. Any questions? Okay. Let's say that you have 248 tires in stock. How many cars? Now we're going to assume putting all 4 tires on each car. How many cars can you put tires on? Very good. 248 total tires. If each car takes 4, we're going to divide by 4. So 62 cars. That same problem could be done in the other direction. I might say you have 62 cars. How many tires would it take? Of course, the difference is then you would be doing 62 times 4. When you're doing these questions, stop and ask yourself, does it make sense? Because the big mistake people make here is they'll take 248 times 4. Would it make sense to have more cars than tires? No. It makes sense to have more tires than cars. A problem that I ask that always has a high rate of wrong answers. Let's say it takes 6 bricks per square foot. How many bricks are needed to cover 2,148 square feet? So the big question here is, am I multiplying or am I dividing? And before you answer that, one of the strategies you can use on these is to look at a smaller problem. If I only had 2 square feet instead of 2,148, if I only had 2 square feet, how many bricks would it take? 6 per square foot. So times 6 would be 12 brick. So it takes more brick than it does square feet. So when I come back here to work with the 2,148, am I going to multiply or divide? I'm going to multiply. Perfect. So 12,888 bricks. So there are a lot of little things you can do like that with these word problems to help you think about where the answer should be. Let's see here. Let's say an orange crate holds 32 oranges. And yes, these are going to be monster oranges. I'm aware of that. The crate weighs 5 pounds. I'll write up the whole word. And each orange is 2 pounds. I said the monster oranges. Find the total weight. Okay. 32 for each orange, so 32 times 2. Plus the 5 for the crate. So 32 times 2 is 64 plus the 5, 69 pounds. Let's say that your garage is 20 feet wide. Your car is 6 feet wide. How much room is on each side of your car if you park in the middle? Here, a couple of you got it down, got the process down here. This is one where I would like to draw a picture. When it comes to solving problems, a lot of times a picture helps. So here's my garage. This is the door down here. If I bring this is 20 feet wide. If I bring my car in, I've always wanted a blue car, so I'm making my car blue. Put it in the center, and my car is 6 feet wide. I need to figure out how much space is on each side. And some of you said, what did I do? So 20 minus 6 is 14 feet. Perfect. So that means there's 14 feet left over. Half of it has to go on each side if it's in the center. So you divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7 feet. So 7 feet on each side. Now remember, we had some formulas that we talked about. One of them, and this one's going to haunt us all summer. I probably shouldn't use haunt as the word there. That might be a little bit negative, but perimeter of a rectangle. This one we will revisit over and over all summer. How's that? The perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So if we are told a rectangle that has a perimeter of 58 feet has and it might say 58 feet long, has a width of 12 feet. Find the length. I put in that 58 feet long. I added that word just because that is used in several different forms in this problem. Long, anything that is measured has a length, right? So the perimeter is 58 feet long, the width is 12 feet long, and of course the length is so many feet long. So that word long there does not affect what it is we're trying to find. It's just the perimeter is 58 feet, the width is 12 feet, and we're looking for the length. So in this formula, what do I put where? What goes in for P? 58. Very good. Equals 2 times what goes in for L? Yeah, L or X, whatever we're putting in. I'll leave it as L, but you're right. That is our variable. That is what we're trying to find. So X, Y, L, whatever we want to put in there. Plus 2 times 12 goes in for W. Do not forget to put the 2's here. Those are still there. Even though a number goes in here, it's 2 times W, so it's 2 times 12. Now, as we mentioned, before we solve, we have to combine everything we can combine. Is there anything in this equation we can combine?
Yeah.
2 times 12, which is 24. So 58 equals 2L plus 24. Now what?
Correct the 24 from both sides.
Subtract the 24, which is
34.
34 equals 2L. And then
You gotta
divide
divide by 2.
by 2. 17 equals L. So the length is 17. And of course you could go back and check that out. If you draw a picture, if the width is 12 feet, and that's 17 feet, if you add all those up, make sure that gives you the 58-foot perimeter. So almost all the problems pretty much all the problems that will be on this test, you can double check. That should be pretty much everything we need to know for the test. I can't think of any other types of problems I don't see any other types of problems that are on last year's version. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, just so you know, let me get back to my assignment manager here. There is still a quiz that is due tonight. At 11:59 p.m. And there is a homework assignment that is due tomorrow. I always say usually they're timed by noon, but since there is a test tomorrow, I mean, stuff in the homework will be on the test, so it's to your benefit to have it done before the test. But if you don't have it totally finished and you need to finish it up in the afternoon tomorrow, don't worry about it. I won't take off the point. The system might say it's going to take off the points, but don't worry, I'll fix that if it takes you time to finish it up. Usually what will happen is during the test tomorrow, I will transfer all the grades now on the assignments that are completed in my math lab. I will get those transferred into Blackboard. And then when I grade your test, I will put that test grade in Blackboard so that you'll have an updated grade up to this point in the course. And usually I'll put a little notice out on Blackboard saying, okay, so far in the course, there's this many points possible. If you have at least this many, you're sitting at an A, this many is a B, this many is a C. And in this class, nothing below a C really exists because if you get a D or worse, you have to retake it. So just so you know. For this class, you have to have a C or better because it's a prerequisite for other classes. Okay, well, there is 29 minutes left. If you want to use the computers to work on the quiz or the homework, feel free. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. I will get the test sent out right now so that it'll be at your locations as soon as the office is open in the morning. They'll have it ready for you. Like I said, I know they're open at 8 o'clock. I don't know if they're open at 7. I think New Richmond opens at 7:30, but I'm not totally sure.